Today I want to go over 5 of the most common mistakes that dog owners make. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Number 5, the big one is going to be repeating commands. Guys, I cannot overemphasize how important it is to not let your dog let you think that you're just a broken record, okay? The command is a cue. When you say it, the dog should perform it within about 2 to 3 seconds. If the dog's not doing it urgently like that, then the dog's not really perceiving your leadership as that urgent. And when you really need to call on your dog to give you obedience, you're not gonna get it. So what I do to discourage people from repeating commands is I communicate first with the dog on leash. And that's gonna allow for me to at least keep the dog in my zone, keep him around me so he can't go run off if I start giving them commands. Next, I need to make sure I have a high value motivator to keep my dog engaged so they are grateful and it's a win-win. And they do the behavior because there's an incentive. And then, like I said, by having the leash on, I can create a little urgency by adding a little leash pressure. Okay, so these are ways that are gonna get your dog to actually do the command. Now, once you've shown your dog how to do it, right, then you can start issuing correction when they don't do it. But first you have to go through the process of showing them over and over, right? And a lot of times I won't even mark the behavior until the dog is there. So I'll lure the dog in the behavior and then I'll say, good sit. And the dog will then get rewarded from the sit. I'm not gonna keep repeating it and letting the value of it get lost so they don't really understand what I'm saying. So again, I'll lure the dog with a high motivator and on leash. Once the dog does the behavior, I lure the dog in behavior, I mark it good sit, and then I give them a break. When I break, I reward them again. So they get praise for doing it and they get praise after doing it. So the dog starts to process this behavior equaled something good. This is how you avoid having to repeat commands, okay? And if you start when they're young, you'll start the habit of doing it, sit, 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 and then you'll never break the habit. And then when it's time to correct your dog for not sitting, you'll be still in that bad habit of telling him, ask him, and ask him, and ask him. So I believe that obedience is a cue equals a behavior, not 20 cues equal behavior. So repeating commands, big no-no. The number 4 biggest mistake that most dog owners make is they under-motivate their dogs, okay? Guys, there's a whole world of stimulation and distraction everywhere. Even for us, it's easy for us to get stuck scrolling or on some conversation that's meaningless or watching TV or Netflix. It's hard to stay focused in a world full of distractions. So how do you think your dog feels? You need to create some kind of value to keep your dog motivated. Now, how do you motivate a dog? Very simple. You have praise, which is the dog's desire to get a good boy and a belly scratch or back of the head scratch, right? You have praise, right? Then you have food. Now dogs, they want to go after their food. So if they're hungry, they're going to go and chase the food. So you can leverage the dog's engagement by incorporating the food and leveraging the food. So your dog really sees that there's big value in working for you because you are the food source. Number 3 is something of prey. So whether it's a ball or a toy, those are the things that dogs love if they have a high prey drive. So they'll chase around and they'll love chasing that. Now, I don't even start training until I have ignition, which means the dog has a desire for something I have and they have expression and excitement because they're expecting something good. So I create a value for the reward system early on before I even ever teach my dog to do really any behaviors, right? First thing I teach them is the break, right? Break equals I get paid. They're gonna be really into hearing that word, right? And then from there, I can start marking behaviors that they're naturally doing, and then I say break, and then they come get paid again. So now I'm gonna really create value for just the overall sound of the release command, which is the break, right? Motivate your dog to want to do the behavior versus just make them comply early on, and then the dog's gonna sometimes fight that. And again, correction is part of the equation, but early on, the motivation is the key. Number 3 is gonna be no house manners, okay? Too many times I see people just let their dogs run amok in the house. The dogs are jumping all over the couch. The dogs are jumping all over the table. They're, jumping up on company. They're being in places they're not supposed to be. Too many people give their dogs too many privileges right off the back, and it doesn't create value for your leadership and the house manners and boundaries. Again, I get it. Some people don't care. They just want to let their dogs do whatever. But when you want to reel your dog in and get them to actually listen to you, if they just treat your whole house like it's just their playground, then a lot of times the dog won't really have respect for the home, and then they can get destructive. Sometimes you might have guests over that don't want dogs all over the couches, all over them. And again, these house manners really, really set the boundaries. It's like a child having manners and being polite. Dogs can be not polite, and they can be not have manners. And again, they could just be on the wild side of things and not really control their impulses and their urges. So I highly encourage people to set manners, set boundaries, whether that's keeping a leash on in the house, having a place for your dog, so having your dog where it has a designated place, keeping it out of places like the kitchen, or keeping it out of places that they can get mess up stuff. Maybe you have a nice pair of tennis shoes or something in one room, or baby toys. You don't want the dog to go in there on its own because they might mess stuff up. So setting boundaries around the house and setting a mannerism around the house really gets the dog to kind of like chill out. Because then when you go outside, your dog will already be used to some structure and some guidance. And if your dog goes outside and they have no guidance inside, then they're really going to be wild outside, and it's just going to make your training a lot harder. Number 2 is going to be setting your dogs up for failure. Too many times I see people over socialize their dog when they're not ready to, when they put them, say, in a situation like a dog park, and then the dog can end up getting bullied and have a bad experience, or maybe they leave things open for the dog to get in trouble in the house, then they get mad at the dog for doing it when it was really the person's fault. So they haven't taught them anything. So guys, remember that there's 3 phases when it comes to dog training: the learning phase, the proofing phase, and the securing phase. So in the learning phase is when you're really supposed to show your dog what they're supposed to do. Then you can introduce distractions. Then you can introduce corrections. And then from there, then you can start increasing those distractions to go outside into higher levels of stimulation, right? And then, and only then, do you take your dog to the soccer game or to the farmer's market. Like, you don't want to set yourself up and set the dog up for failure, right? Make sure to train your dog up to a place that you expect them to perform at when you're going outside into the general public. So setting your dog up too fast for destruction is not the way to go. Make sure you set them up for success. And number 1, undercorrecting your dogs. Understand, guys, correction is part of dog training. It's part of what the mother did with the puppies, what the pack members did when they were a little pack, and you have to keep it up. If you do not correct your dog will not understand that there's limits and boundaries, okay? It's just a yes, yes, yes world, then your dog is gonna think, hey, everything's a yes, okay? Sometimes there has to be a no. There's an understanding of consequence in the dog's natural survival, fight or flight type of mindset, right? So the dog knows that certain things can be blocked and certain things are undesirable, and they don't go into certain areas because they know that they can run into problems and confrontation, okay? Dogs want to be comfortable. So if you work on keeping the dog comfortable and make sure everything else that's not supposed to be happening is uncomfortable, then the dog will understand what exactly it is they're supposed to do. And if you can get that dog to understand that there's impulse control, and part of that is delayed reward as well as correction, you'll get a dog that's going to be a lot more well-mannered, under control, and a dog that won't be so impulsive, so pushy. Again, it's about setting boundaries and mannerisms. If you don't do that with a dog, guys, you're gonna have a really tough time taking a high drive dog, for example, into a place and expecting to reel all that energy in. A lot of times, good dogs end up getting the short end of the stick, ended up getting put to sleep, or neutered, or have to go to get to rehomed because they just didn't put a foundation of obedience in. So in the Cali K9 system, we have a 5-pillar system of obedience, socialization, agility, behavior management, and problem solving. And that is the proper order in which we teach dogs to get them to, adjust to the real world and get them to be able to be contributing members of society and not a nuisance. And guys, we'd love to teach you guys some of these tips and tricks. So guys, if this content was valuable, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I've made a commitment to go ahead and deliver a lot of new content to you guys. So it's you who's gonna help me get this channel to the next level. And hope you guys enjoyed that 5 big mistakes that people make. I'll definitely be doing another sequel to this. So check out the next video and we'll see you when you see it. Check us out, CaliK9.com. We'll see you on the next one.